From Doha to Santiago, two modern cities rooted in heritage. But despite being thousands of miles apart, there's so much in common between South American and Arabic culture. Like yerba mate and karak, tea drinking steeped in tradition, and al-sadu weaving and Aztec prints, geometric motifs born out of tribal culture. Art, history, food, and sports. These are the ties that bind, bridging centuries of traditions through cultural exchange and building on the lasting legacy of diplomacy. I'm Laila Humaira, and I've traveled from Doha, Qatar to Santiago, Chile for this special edition of Qatar in Motion. Did you know that the Years of Culture initiative is marking nearly 15 years of international cultural and educational exchanges? Launched in 2012 under the patronage of Her Excellency Sheikha Al Mayasa bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, the program has embraced the cultures of many different countries, including Japan, France, Brazil, and Morocco. This year, it's Argentina and Chile. It's a celebration of 51 and 43 years of bilateral relations with the two countries that transcends borders, cultures, and languages. Besides collaborations between museums of the three countries, a big part of the Years of Culture initiative is educational excursions that bring communities in Qatar and South America together. These hands-on, human-led experiences give local traditions a global perspective. So we've traveled 2.5 hours southwest of Santiago to the coastal region of Navidad to explore how the exchange in knowledge and art can be a refreshing common ground. High on the hills of Navidad, a group of volunteers from Qatar are learning to make ceramics from Ana, who is a Mapuche, the indigenous peoples of South America and one of the last living custodians of pre-Columbian pottery. Jose Guzman is the director of La Cancha, a non-profit that's helping to keep the tradition alive by organizing local and international volunteer trips like these.
In specific, in Navidad, we have a very pure clay that maybe the Aborigines trying to extract that, and they know that some part of the extract are very specific to construct.
Pottery making is deeply rooted in the community of Navidad. The secret lies in the soil beneath their feet. And for the Mapuche, protecting it is their entire purpose and identity.
Mapuche means, it's two words. Mapu, it's tierra. It's tierra, it means ground or earth. And che, it calls people. So it's the people from earth.
The volunteers have finished making their interpretations of traditional Mapuche pottery, and it's time to set the pieces before placing them in the kiln that they've helped build. Hazim Idris, who heads the volunteer program at Qatar Museums, has been involved in the Years of Culture program for years. And every edition is slightly more special than the one before.
If you look around, that's the culture that we can't say we miss it in Qatar, but we don't have it. So we have the desert, which they don't have, but they have the greeneries, which we don't have. So this is one of the elements that the volunteers are experiencing, and they're so happy. We want them to be the ambassadors of Years of Culture, so they can bring the knowledge, the culture, the experience that they have met here in Argentina or Chile, and take it to Qatar, and encourage other colleagues, friends, families, etc., to come and visit where we are today. The Years of Culture or the cultural exchange is not only diplomatic, but the cultural exchange, the element of knowing you and you knowing me, is very crucial and very important for a long-term legacy between the volunteers and the in-country partners.
There is so much to learn from the close relationship between the people of Navidad and the natural history that surrounds them, which is also apparent down by the Pacific coast. For centuries, native inhabitants have lived in harmony with resources brought in by the waves. While seaweed is considered a new superfood in many parts of the world, it's been a staple in the diet of many indigenous peoples of South America, especially those living near the Pacific Ocean. Here in Navidad, collecting seaweed has been a livelihood for generations. Through initiatives like Algueras, the tradition of seaweed harvesting, which was born out of the need to survive, has taken root as a living heritage.
Para la Comuna de Navidad, las algueras es súper importante. ¿Por qué? Porque hemos logrado trabajar en forma unida, procesar un producto que nos ha permitido vender directo del mar al consumidor, eliminar el intermediario y colocar un producto de muy buena calidad con grandes nutrientes.
Seaweed has been proven to contain more calcium than milk, while some species have been used as meat alternatives. What started out as a small space in her garage has now turned into a factory, cleaning, processing, and packaging seaweed for the market. And Cecilia hopes that her participation in the Years of Culture will help open doors internationally.
Para nosotros la importancia de esta pasantía internacional, que digo yo, nosotros acá hemos logrado, porque soy convencida de que el trabajo en equipo nos va a hacer fuerte. La cancha permitió unir el mundo de usted con el mío. Como mi mundo los necesita usted y ustedes nos necesitan a nosotros.
She's also sounding the alarm about a looming threat to the livelihood of the seaweed gatherers, which, if not protected, could even put the existence of Navidad at risk.
Todos tenemos que jamás romper nuestro ecosistema, porque es el sustento de hoy y de mañana. Nuestra obligación de proteger, cuidar, ser responsable, porque la naturaleza es el que nos permite vivir cada día.
Well, another similarity between Arab and South American culture is their love for horses. For generations, the two cultures relied on the gentle animals as a mode of transport and a source for survival. While horses have now become a symbol of status or sport, the art of taking care of the majestic creatures is still a precious tradition.
My name is Benjamin Awerti. I'm a senior clinician at the Equine Veterinary Medical Center in Doha, Qatar. This hospital caters exclusively to horses. In it, I specialize in internal medicine, which means that I take care of horses with colic, babies with neonatal problems, respiratory problems, endocrine problems, in all ages of horses and in every breed of horses. I do my diagnostic investigation, I can do blood work, I can do ultrasound, I can take radiographs of patients, and then based on that I reach a diagnosis. Then I can decide on the appropriate treatment, be it surgical or medical, and patients either stay in the hospital if they need to, or they go home with their medications. At EVMC and around Qatar, about 80 to 90% of the horses that are out there are Arabians, show Arabians. Show Arabians are beautiful. They're an exceedingly ancient breed, thousands of years old, and they're very valued here culturally. In my home country, we have lots of criollo horses, which are riding horses, working horses, and also polo ponies. And they are horses that are adapted to survive in the Pampas or in Patagonia, on either side of the mountains, and they're very hardy breeds. I was born in Argentina, I grew up in Buenos Aires, but I was lucky enough to travel a lot, to spend all my holidays at my uncle's farm. They always had cattle and horses, and I was able to grow up riding. I was maybe 14 or 15 years old, and this horse was just new. It had just come into the house, and it cut its leg. I remember the vet coming in and cleaning, disinfecting the wound, and putting a bandage on it, and giving it antibiotics. I was helping him out and holding the horse and then giving him the bandaging material, and to me it felt profoundly exciting, you know, helping out a live being. We share what we know with younger generations in many different ways. My children are Latin American, and so we make a point of going back home as often as we can to make sure that, first of all, that they stay in touch with their grandparents, uncles and cousins, but we also always take them home riding. We just came back from holidays in the mountains, and they spent, I don't know, about 3 weeks riding a horse morning, afternoon, and evening. My job as a doctor of horses is just a blessing for me. It's what I really enjoy doing.
Another South American contribution to Qatari society comes in the form of a future modern and contemporary art museum. In 2016, the Chilean architectural studio Elemental was awarded with the task of designing the Art Mill Museum, set to open in 2030. I spoke to Alejandro Aravena, the Pritzker Prize-winning architect and executive director at Elemental, about the progress so far.
We're not starting from scratch, we're starting from existing port, the silos. In industrial architecture, the structure is the architecture. The DNA is already there. In these 8 years, on the one hand, you keep on adding technical data, you need to be very rigorous to make sure that whatever you do will last physically, culturally. And at the same time, you have to evolve in what are the latest trends in exhibition spaces, but also in city design. Qatar has been in a dynamic in which shaping the form of public living, or where people will live together. And we hope we will contribute with this specific project that is in a very special location at the end of the Corniche to expand that public realm in which people will be able to come together in a nice way.
Long after this edition of the Years of Culture concludes, through lasting partnerships and yearly events, the legacy of the countries will continue. That's all the time we have for now. Thanks for watching Qatar in Motion, and see you next time.